Alright, okay, good evening everyone. Hey, welcome to the new week. We'll get started for today's stream over here. And as usual, okay, we'll start off with the overview of the week. And we'll jump into the charts, highlight some of the opportunities and the outlook. And then we'll do a quick Q&A, right? So if you have any questions, just put it into the chat. I'll answer them in the while, okay? So this week here, generally the market is, I would say overall, gonna be relatively quiet. We don't have a lot of high impact news. We don't have a lot of like tier one very important data as well. We do have the Aussie CPI coming in on Wednesday morning. But again, for me, I don't really trade the Asian news. Just factor in that if you're looking at Aussie related instruments, then of course that might be certain volatility coming in. Okay, on Wednesday morning because of the CPI data. If you get a surprise element, of course, that would have an impact in the Aussie. Then on Thursday, we have a little bit of a prelim GDP from US. I don't think that's going to be like a very major one. But if again you're interested in looking out for potential catalysts in the market, that can be one. Okay, and to end off the week here, and of course at the same time end of the month, that would be the core PCE price index on Friday. Okay, so overall, we do have a bit of a news here and there, but again, these are not like super important tier one kind of data points. Okay, so nothing much of a concern, I think overall. Okay, last week itself, we do have some interesting ones, right? We have the Canadian CPI, we have RBNZ, and of course we have a lot of PMIs as well from last week, and we did see the dollar actually have some significant move to end off the week. Okay, we'll talk a little bit as we jump into the charts itself. Okay, but this week here I don't think there are much. Okay, so good. We'll get started with the dollar first. Okay, so as I mentioned, we did see the dollar index pulling back. Okay, to end of last week. From a structure perspective, I think the dollar index right now is pretty straightforward. Okay, we're expecting it to continue to move lower. We have a very nice little rejection of that 618 Fibonacci. The market, of course, also developed correctively towards that zone, and we had a decent reaction to end of last week. So moving forward here, we're going to be expecting more downside, potentially towards 103.80. Okay, so this week here, we're going to hold on to a bearish bias of the dollar itself, and that's where the opportunity is going to start coming in, right? So with that said, euro dollar here, I'm going to expect a little bit more upside. Okay, we did have a pretty decent bounce off the 1.0810 area. We have the 50% mark. We have some nice little confluence here as well. Okay, and of course a very nice little three-wave correction, right? So overall, still bullish on euro. Expecting this to go up a little bit with a target at 1.0920. Okay, not going to be a long-term move here. We're just simply expecting one more pushback up, and then from there, perhaps we'll see a nice little decent pullback, okay, to the downside. But this week, okay, the focus here will be very much on the upside first, right? With a target, as I mentioned, 1.0920. Okay, GBP USD is something that I would be a little bit cautious. What I'm looking here is the market seems to be developing a potentially a three-wave move, right? And of course, we're kind of coming close towards the fifth area here as well. Okay, so for pound dollar, I'm gonna be a little bit cautious on buying, and I'll be more interested to see if we can get a potential sell in the future. Okay, because this one here seems to be developing a little bit more of a crawlish development. So of course not a sell like immediately, but my bias here is definitely bearish, which means I'm not keen in the upside at the moment. I'll be only interested to see if we can get some kind of a sell after that, okay, because this will give us a very nice little completion of a three-wave, and we will expect a deeper pullback. So short term moving forward, that might be the sell opportunity, and after which we'll maybe then look for the buy after that. Okay, so that's my take on GBP USD. Right now, I don't think there's much on the table for this pair. Okay, Aussie here, we're currently testing the 50. We'll need to see how the market's going to react off this zone, obviously. Okay, I'm also short-term bearish on this, okay, but of course we want to see how the market's going to react off this, because my view here is that this may be a three-wave move. We want to see some kind of a deeper pullback before the bounce. Okay, not the clearest of all. Okay, so that's why I don't really see a tag here as of now. Okay, I would say among the three major pairs, euro dollar would definitely be one of the clearer ones that you can take opportunity and trade it to the upside. GBP USD, you probably need to wait a bit more of a confirmation. Aussie dollar here as well. Okay, so as of now, among the three major pairs, okay, euro dollar would be the clearest. Okay. Now, dollar Canadian is also something that you can look to capitalize on. I think the direction and the structure is very clear. But you definitely want to wait for some kind of a pullback, right? The market is still coming down pretty impulsively at the moment. Structure wise, okay, we're looking at this as a 1, 2, 3. We're likely looking at another move down. Okay, so let me kind of clean up a little bit. Okay, in terms of this labeling, we're looking at it from a bigger perspective. It's not the nicest of all, okay, but we're looking at it from an angle something like this. Okay, so I'll probably string this down a little bit. Okay, let me kind of like update this a little bit. Okay, so the label, I'll put it here, right? So we'll be looking at it from a perspective of 1, 2, 3, right? So that's your W, a pullback X, and then another 1, 2, 3 here, for the Y wave. Okay, so that's what we're looking at the moment. A more conservative kind of secondary measurement would be to take this here. That would be possible as well, right? So okay, that would streamline the area of interest, or a potential target to the downside somewhere around this zone, right? Very nice little confluence with the trend line channel as well. Okay, so overall, we'll be waiting for some kind of pullback. Okay, of course, we want to wait for that confirmation, and then we'll look for the downside, right? Okay, so this one here, I think structurally everything is quite clear cut. We're definitely going to be remaining bearish, and we'll wait for the pullback to get involved in the sell, right? So dollar Canadian, definitely something to keep watch for the week. Dollar yen, I would be still focusing at it from a perspective of a three-wave move to the upside. Okay, so we have this impulse move, pretty sharp little V shape here. This is definitely crawlish in nature. If you can get a pullback, okay, to come back towards the bottom of the channel, maybe around a FIB as well, right? 155.40. That will give us a nice little opportunity to catch this third move up. Okay, but this one will probably need to give it some time for the corrective structure to pull back. Okay, so not too concerned at the moment, but just keeping watch. In terms of like dollar yen, potentially we'll get something to the upside. Gold is another one you can keep watch on, right? We can't get a massive drop last week, so we're bearish for now, and then of course any kind of pullback here would give us an opportunity to sell. Okay, and I'm looking from a perspective where market may come back and retest this low. Okay, now on a high time frame perspective, right, that would build into a expanding flat development. Okay, and then a continuation upside, right? Long term here, I'm still bullish, but short term, we can capitalize on one more push down. Okay, so yeah, that's my take on gold. Okay, if you go into the details of gold, okay, we may be looking at it at a 5-wave development as well, right? Mainly from here, 1, 2, 3, wave 4, and then one more drop. Maybe after that, after completion of 5-wave, we'll see an ABC, then maybe another move down. Okay, so in terms of like the intricacy and the details of it on a lower time frame, you may not need to be overly concerned with, unless you're doing some kind of a short-term intraday, right? But if you're not, then it's perfectly fine to just look at it from a larger time frame kind of swing perspective, right? And that's the take on it. Crude oil here, kind of like a little bit of consolidation, but overall, I'm still going to maintain bearishness, okay, I would say. Unless the market is able to, again, take off this high here impulsively, we're probably still going to be looking for more downside, okay. This pattern structure is not the cleanest to be trading at the moment, right? Because it can really evolve into multiple things. So I may, I may be looking at the bearish bars here, but just be ready to very quickly evolve and update the view on this according to how the market develop. Okay, so not really a top priority for me on crude oil. S&P here I think is also very clear. Okay, so S&P, Nasdaq, I'll be looking at it from a perspective of wave 3 completion. So we are looking at wave 4 development in 3, right? Very simple structure, and then after that upside. Okay, so this would then complete that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so short term, you may be interested in this, but for me personally, I would suggest just wait for the pullback and then look for the buy, right? So very clear structure, okay, very clear structure here. We just need that pullback as a confirmation correctively, then you look for it outside. Okay, pound yen, odd yen, nothing there. I'll skip those. Pound Australia here has a potential within the week going into next week as well. We're looking at it at an impulsive move. Okay, so if you can get a corrective pattern here, we'll be looking for upside. Okay, very clear structure. Daily time frame here as well. Okay, we may actually complete this cycle and maybe one more push, right? And this would then also complete the cycle. The alternative here, of course, is okay. This can continue to come down. For the smaller time frame will dictate that. Okay. So I'm not overly concerned right now because the smaller time frame, as of how they're gonna develop, would tell us a little bit more going into the bigger time frame. Do we look at longer term move to the downside, or do we start to look for upside? Okay, really depends on H4, how price will come back, right? I mean, if it comes back correctively, this suggests more upside. Then obviously the daily time frame will start to indicate the price going higher as well. Okay, so that's on the pound odd. EuroCAD has a nice little opportunity here as well because last week we got the impulsive move to the downside, right? So again, this one is a very classic example. I mean, last couple of weeks, right, 2 to 3 weeks, the market has been developing like that. Okay, and every time we look at this pattern, we'll say, try not to buy it. I mean, it's a little bit tempting, right? Because the market is still going higher, and then I can't always say that whenever you see a corrective move like that, okay, don't buy. Again, it's very difficult to try and trade this to the upside because at one point in time, there's a high probability the market would do something like that, right? So I would always want to wait whenever I see something like this, right? What we call a crawl. I always want to wait for the impulsive drop followed by correction. Then I would like to take this downside. Okay, which in this case here, Euro Canadian seems to be doing that. Okay, so if you can get a decent kind of pullback, right? Of course, right now it's a little bit too early to pull fips. But rough estimation, if this is the low, the market starts to pull back. Okay, this area is where we're gonna start to look for sell trade. Okay, so Euro Canadian is definitely something to keep watch as well. And lastly, over here in Bitcoin, we do have an opportunity as well if we can get a decent pullback. Okay, so Bitcoin here has also broken out of that previous trend line structure with momentum. Okay, potentially completed a 3-wave cycle here. So if you can get a pullback towards around 56.18, then upside. Okay, so this one also an opportunity that you can keep watch, right? Now there might be the possibility where this week here the market is going to be a little bit more of a slower development because we look at the catalyst, the news, there isn't much. Okay, so as we starts to observe and the market starts to build into that consolidation, the corrective state, all the setup would start to build in very nicely going into the new month, which is next week, right? Because again, if this pulls back, then next month, next week, we can start to look for the sell. Same thing here. If this pulls back, then next week we'll look for the sell. Euro Canadian, same thing, and of course BTC here. If you can't pull back, next week we can look for the buy. Okay, so a couple of things here that are setting up, right? So you just want to really be focused, okay, and I mean not lose that focus, even though if let's say this week the market is just going to be in the consolidation stage. Okay, a little bit on the global indices side of things, right? the German DAX, right? So German DAX seems to be, let me clean up a little bit, right? Seems to be developing something like this. Very nice little break. Okay, kind of pull back correctively, and it seems to be developing to the upside. So right now, I'll actually rotate this count a little bit, right? We're still potentially looking at a 5-wave count, okay? But wave 3 here seems to be, you know, not extending towards 1618, but it's only kind of coming towards 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, right? Now, can wave 3 just terminate around 1, 2, 3? The answer is yes, right? But one little tip here is if wave 3 is not at 1618, okay, and of course everything is still valid, right? The price did not really come back down to wave 1 territory. So everything is valid if this starts to go higher. Okay. What we are expecting then would be a wave 5 extension, right? Because if wave 3 did not extend, then likelihood of wave 5 being extended. Okay. So if wave 5 is going to be extended, then the unit of measurement over here will be using the same thing, right? We'll measure from the start of the wave to wave 3 and then map it to wave 4. And then we'll be looking at it extending all the way until wave 100% extension here, right? Which is basically measuring from here to here. And then we'll kind of move and duplicate this 1:1, right? Something like that. So it's a bit far-fetched right now, okay? But I would say looking at the pattern development with the confluence of the zone, if we can get something like that, you definitely just want to be focused on the upside, okay? On German DAX. Okay, of course, this target here looks a bit extended. You may, you know, have a more conservative targets or just trail and manage your stop accordingly, right? But right now, the current forecast would definitely look something like that. Okay, FTSE, okay, it's doing its pullback, right? So I would say probably just give it a little bit more time here. I think this pullback may develop a little bit more. Okay, yeah, that's gonna be my take on FTSE. Not much there. This one here is A50, right? So this one seems to be doing its pullback after this completion. Okay, so I would put it as this. Okay. Okay, and of course from a perspective, this is your 3-wave, right? ABC. So this would be the swing low as reference, right? And potentially, you want to keep an eye on a 50% pullback, right? Okay, so A50, I think short term maybe we'll get a little bit more of a downside, and then after that a pushback up. Okay, so this 50% will come back very nicely to some key areas as well, right? Okay, so that will be the take. Hang Seng right now not the cleanest, right? This looks a little bit of a V, so I will personally not touch on this for now. Aussie 200. Okay, not the cleanest, to be very honest. But of course, if you're just basing on like, you know, kind of support resistance structure perspective, then yeah, I think that's pretty clean bounce. But from Elliott wave perspective, this pattern is just not clean. Okay, because we broke this, I mean, it can be a running flat, but it just doesn't look nice. Okay, yeah, so I probably not want to comment overly on this. No clear pattern as of now, right? Depending on the approach that you have as well. Like, as I mentioned, if you're looking at just simple structure perspective, this is a pretty decent bounce, right? And you probably expect more upside from here. Switzerland side, yeah, I think overall we're still looking at a simple 5-wave structure development. Okay, so yeah, estimation, yeah, 236 straight to, that would be the area. Okay, and then we'll be looking at a wave 5 development. Good. Okay, yeah, so those are the couple of things to take note of. Okay, wow, Okay. Give me a moment. Let me just double check. I wanted to share with you guys something over here. Okay, just wanted to share with you guys that I'll be having a webinar session on the 29th. Okay, that's gonna be like on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. Okay, I was trying to find the link. Okay, kind of like need to scroll down a little bit, find the link of registration for you guys. So give me a while, right? I'll drop the link now. Okay, so for those of you who are interested, you can register for that upcoming session. Okay. Um. Okay, give me a while. Give me a while. I want to find it out. Right. Okay, over here. Okay. So let me drop the link. Okay, so basically this session over here, right, I'll be talking a little bit about the smart money concept. Okay, this coming Wednesday, 29th, the time of this is going to be at 9 p.m. Okay, I'm kind of just drop the link in the chat for you to register for the webinar. We'll be talking about this smart money concept strategy, and of course you can then use this to combine with Elliott wave principle as well. Okay, where we use the Elliott wave principle to identify the overall direction, the structure, the patterns, and then we can use the smart money concept strategy as a form of execution, right? Where to get in, and what price to put stops and targets, etc. Okay. So for me, I kind of combine the principles and the techniques together, and this Wednesday session will be covering on this technique and this strategy, right? So for those of you who are interested, do register for this upcoming webinar so you can receive the link to join the session on that day itself. Okay, so again, I've already put the link in the chat. Okay, click on the link, register, it's free. Join in, and then I'll see you guys on that day. Okay, which is in 2 days, right? It's gonna happen on Wednesday. Good. Hey, yeah, so that's all for me for today. There are a couple of things that we can definitely look into for the week. Okay, so as usual, all the best to your trading for this week itself. And of course, make sure you're aware of your risk management, manage your risk accordingly, and we'll see you guys in the subsequent session itself. Okay, that's all. All the best. See you guys. Bye bye.